a few sunnahs and manners regarding eating. And inshallah Rahman, after we've learned the sunnahs and manners of eating, then the dua is also written on the board, so you'll get the opportunity to learn this dua that you should recite before eating. So my Islamic brothers, food is a very magnificent blessing of Allah Azza wa Jal. If we eat food in accordance with the sunnah of the noble Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, then what happens is, as long as satisfying our hunger, so we satisfy our hunger, but also we can earn many rewards if we eat according to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. So what we should do is, we should make a habit. We should make a habit to follow the sunnah as much as we can. And even when we're eating, we should make a habit to eat according to the sunnah. So some sunnahs and manners of eating food are mentioned below, and inshallah Rahman, I'll go through them with you now. So Sayyidina Anas bin Malik radiyallahu ta'ala anhu narrated that the noble Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam has stated, the one who likes that Allah Azza wa Jal increase blessings in his home, then he should make ablution, i.e. wudu, when a meal is served, and also make wudu, ablution, when it is taken away. A great thinker of the Ummah, Mufti Ahmad Yar Khan alayhi rahmah, has stated, i.e. the wudu ablution before the meal is a bit different to the wudu you would do before reading namaz. So this wudu ablution that you should make before eating and when the food is taken away is that you should wash your hands and mouth. So you should wash your hands and you should rinse your mouth, and then while eating food, keep the left leg folded. So after you've done the wudu, now whilst you're eating, keep the left leg folded on the ground and keep the right knee upright, or keep both knees upright, and sit like with your back flat on the ground. So from the back side, have that sat flat on the ground and keep both your knees upright. And then Sayyidina Anas bin Malik radiyallahu ta'ala anhu has also narrated that the Holy Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam stated that take off your shoes. Take off shoes when sitting to eat food. Why? There is comfort in it for you. So it's also been mentioned, and this is very, very important, that we do this all the time. And not only when we're eating, before any permissible act, any action that we start to do, what we should do is, before we do these actions, very, very important, we should recite Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, especially before eating. And this should be such a habit that is embedded in us, that we never forget. Whenever we're about to do any permissible work, this should be the first thing that we start all our works with. Everything should be started by reciting firstly Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And Sayyidina Huzaifa radiyallahu ta'ala anhu narrated that the Holy Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam stated, the food on which Bismillah is not recited, then the shaitan considers it lawful for him. And if you forget to recite Bismillah and you recall maybe halfway through your meal, maybe near the end of your meal, maybe you've taken one bite and then you recall, then what you should recite is Bismillahi awwalahu وآخره. And Sayyida Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anha narrated that the beloved and blessed Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam has stated, when anyone among you eats food, he should recite Bismillah before eating. If he forgets to recite Bismillah in the beginning, then he should recite Bismillahi awwalahu wa ahirahu. And the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam also mentioned that when anyone amongst you eats a meal, he should eat with his right hand, and when he drinks, he should also drink with his right hand. For the shaitan, what he does is the opposite. He eats with his left hand and he drinks with his left hand. So we should follow the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ and not the shaitan. And how we can do that is by making sure we eat with our right hand and we use our right hand for drinking as well. And Sayyidina Anas bin Malik radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrated that the Holy Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam has stated, every person should eat from the portion of the pot that is in front of them. So sometimes 2 or 3 people, they might be eating from the same plate. And what you should do is, you should eat from your side and stick to that side. Sometimes you see people, they'll eat from one side, then they go to the next corner. So their one bite will be from one side, then they'll be taking some from the other side and the other side. This we should avoid, we shouldn't do this. We should eat from our own side and stick to our own side. Sayyidina Abu Salama radiallahu ta'ala anhu has stated that one day while eating food, my hand was moving here and there into the bowl, i.e. meaning that he was picking up a bit of food from this side of the plate, then the other side, etc. And the beloved Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam saw me doing this. So he sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam said, "Oh boy, eat with your right hand after reciting Bismillah and eat from in front of you." So after that, my way of eating changed. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. So one common thing that happens in today's day and age, I've seen it a lot of times, when we don't like certain foods, we start to insult the food. Or this food is not nice, this food is nasty, this food was like this, it was like that, etc. etc. So we shouldn't do these things. We should try our best to avoid behavior like this. In a sense, this is like an insult to the food. So we should try our best not to insult the food. And also the reason why, because when you find faults in the food, when you start mentioning the faults of the food, then this is makruh and this is against the sunnah. So what you should do is, if you like the food, you should eat it. If you like the food, you should eat it, and if you don't like the food, then leave it. But don't criticize it. Just leave it. Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu has stated that the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam never found fault in the food. So the Prophet alayhi salam, he never criticized to food. He sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam ate it, and if he sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam did not wish, he sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam left it. The Prophet alayhi salam, if he wanted, he ate the food, and if he didn't want, he left it. He didn't eat it, but he wouldn't criticize the food, the Prophet alayhi salam. The leader of Ahl Sunnat, Maulana Shah Imam Ahmad al-Zahan alayhi rahmah, has stated, we should not find fault in food at our home either, as it is makruh and contrary to the sunnah. The blessed habit of the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam was that he sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam would eat if he liked the food. Otherwise, he sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam would not eat it. Finding fault in food at others' homes is hurting Muslims and is a proof of greed and unthoughtfulness. Food lacks ghee or it is tasteless. It is a fault. It is fault finding. Moreover, if something is a cause of harm to him and the excuse is expressed in order to avoid eating it and not to find fault in the food, for example, it is said that there is excessive chili powder in the food. I am not used to too much spicy food. Then it is not fault finding. It is only allowed in some informal atmospheres and where the host does not have to put himself into trouble. For example, there are two types of curries. One has excessive chili and he is not used to it, then he may not eat it. And when the reason is asked, he may explain it. And if there is only one kind of curry, and if he does not eat it, then the host will have to arrange some other food for him and will also feel embarrassed. Moreover, if the host is poor, then he will face difficulty. In such a situation, what we should do is we should be considerate and we should have patience. Eat whatever is available and should not express his pain. And this is mentioned in Fatawa Razawiyah, volume 21, page 652. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. Inshallah Rahman, I'm just going to mention a few intentions, good intentions that we can make before we eat. So the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that the intention of a Muslim is better than his action, better than his deed. So the more good intentions we make, the more reward we will attain. So before eating, we can make such intentions, such good intentions, like we will eat to gain the strength to worship, to read our namaz. We will eat to gain the strength to recite the Holy Quran. We will eat to gain the strength to serve our parents. We will eat to gain the strength to be able to acquire Islamic knowledge, etc. etc. We could make all these good intentions. And then we could also make even more good intentions that when we eat, we will eat while sitting on the floor. We will follow the sunnah of spreading a dining mat. When we eat, we will eat and sit according to the sunnah. We will recite Bismillah. We will recite the dua before eating and we will recite the dua after eating. So these are many, many good intentions that we can make. So my dear brothers, before you do any action, then permissible actions, what you should do is, like I mentioned before, you should start by reciting Bismillah and then you should also make some good intentions. And inshallah Rahman, this will be beneficial for you. May Allah Azza wa Jal give us all the ability to act upon what has been said and give us the ability to follow the sunnah as much as possible. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam.
Insha'Allah ta'ala, alhamdulillah, the Mutakif Islamic brothers, as you know, in Dawateislami, mashallah, we learn many du'as. So as you can see, there's a dua on the board, inshallah, that we'll be learning the dua before eating. Now we'll put it into practice and then inshallah we'll test you individually, see who has learned the dua. I'll just mention the translation of this dua. It's mentioned here, recite the following dua prior to eating. It will not harm even if the food is poisonous. Insha'Allah Azza wa Jal. So if there's poison in the food, right, and you read this dua, it will not harm you. Yeah, Karachi, Babul, Medina, someone put poison in the food. And you know, Amir Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakat Mu'aliyah has a habit of mentioning this dua to his muridain. And when they sit together to eat, this dua is recited. And guess what? This dua, when it was recited, it did not affect Amir Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakat Mu'aliyah. But the murids that recited this dua, only the effect they had, they just had diarrhea. But the poison did not affect them. ठीक है? So this is a waqia that I heard when I was in Karachi. ठीक है? The dua we're going to read, inshallah. We're going to recite Durood Pak first, as this is the key, inshallah. As-salatu was-salamu alayka ya Rasulullah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. Just like to mention, Alhamdulillah, we are learning. So obviously we'll make some mistakes. But Alhamdulillah, Mutakif Islam brothers have been joining the Baligan class, and you are students of knowledge. So Alhamdulillah, do try to make an effort to pronounce it correctly. Because a lot of us, we make the mistake of the Ain, right? We can't pronounce the Ains properly. And the only way we're going to pronounce the Ains properly is to put it in practice. Yeah, because there is a few Ains in there which I'll mention, and there's a Ha, there's a Ha. So you are obviously learning these things. I'm just highlighting this because I know when I'm going to record you, you will make slightly mistakes. Yeah, it could be major mistakes, it could be slight mistakes as well. Okay, Bismillahilladhi, 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 La yadurru, La yadurru, La yadurru, Bismillahilladhi, La yadurru, Ma'asmihi, Ma'asmihi, it's Ain, yeah? Someone might recite it Ma'asmihi. It's not us, it's not A, okay? It's As, yeah? So Ma'asmihi, Shay'un, Shay'un, Bismillahilladhi, La yadurru, Ma'asmihi, Shay'un, Fil ardi, Fil ardi. Bismillahilladhi, La yadurru, Ma'asmihi, Ma'asmihi, Shay'un, Shay'un, Fil ardi, Wala fis samai, Wala fis samai, Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum. Bismillahilladhi, La yadurru, Ma'asmihi, Shay'un, Fil ardi, Wala fis samai, Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum. Does anyone want to try, inshallah, this dua?
بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء يا حي يا قيوم.
Subhanallah, mashallah. You want to give it a shot?
Yeah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء يا حي يا قيوم.
Remember I mentioned about the Ains. Ains, Ma'asmihi.
مع اسمه
He is only a zayr that he. Okay, no stress the
مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في
he.
السماء
فِي السَّمَاءِ.
يا حي يا قيوم. طيب.
Okay, mashallah, we obviously are learning to make dua as well. Itikaf. So one of the Mutakif Islam brothers is inshallah ta'ala will try to make a special dua for everybody inshallah. So when you're ready, Akeem, if you like to make.
آمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahus samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahus samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahus samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Ya Allah, thank you for every single thing that you gave us. Ya Allah, please make us all enter paradise. Ya Allah, please make the people out there who do not have food, Ya Allah, please provide them with food. Ya Allah, please make us respect our parents. Ya Allah, if we've done anything bad, whatever we've done in the past or whatever we've done right now, Ya Allah, please forgive us. Ya Allah, please make us sit together like this always in the alqis and get swab from it. Ya Allah, please make us respect our teachers, our fathers, our parents, everyone, youngers, olders, whoever we are. Ya Allah, please make us respect everyone. Ya Allah, thank you for every single thing that you gave us. Ya Allah, please make everyone who have passed away, Ya Allah, please make them enter paradise. And Ya Allah, please keep us safe. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin.